Hi everyone, I'm Russ,
Mark,
and this is a spirited endeavor.
priming the pump edition.
That's right.
Actually, we should call this one a Spirited in Denver.
That's right. We could actually get away with it this time.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because the whiskey that we're trying tonight is from Denver, Colorado.
That's right.
From our friends over at Law's Distillery.
Yeah, and this is the funny thing is we started off as a Scotch channel for the most part, single malt, so on and so forth, and we really just wanted to get into American whiskeys, and it was a rocky road initially. The bourbon thing kind of took a minute for us to fully appreciate, but man, now that we've been doing this for a bit over a year now, and I've fallen in love with American whiskeys, and there are some distilleries in particular that I have just absolutely fallen in love with.
Yeah, some of them are just killing it. I mean, they're whiskey nerds. I mean, they're not afraid to get experimental. They're not afraid to put in interesting finishes. And they're meticulous about this. I mean, Balcones is one of them. Westward is another. And then we came upon Law's.
Yep.
And I think the first one we tried there was a 4 grain.
Yeah.
And
bottled in bond 4 grain.
Bottled in bond 4 grain.
Oof.
It was just fantastic.
Yeah.
And then it kind of led us to their line. They had a Centennial wheat whiskey, and then they took that whiskey, which is already like orange and crazy,
Yep.
and then they finished it. They did an experimental and finished it in Curacao casks.
Yeah.
And man, that is just so. I mean, it's more orange than an orange.
Yeah. What I dig about them is if I had a distillery, I'd probably be doing what they're doing.
Yes.
That to me is why I get a big kick out of them. And to be honest with you, we were just talking about it. We haven't had one yet that we disliked, which that's kind of unusual.
Yeah, for sure. And we've had their Rise. They have a San Luis, the Henry Road, which was fantastic. And that was made with heirloom barley,
Yep.
and and along this road in the San Luis Valley, and called Henry Road, and they named a whiskey after it. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
So we're unabashed with our love for them, and we've certainly given them some shout outs, and as a result, they sent us a bottle.
Which that just boggles the mind.
I know. And thank you, David Cronin, for that. You are the man. We appreciate it.
Big thanks.
So we're throwing this one out. We're going to give it a very fair review.
Yep.
But I have some expectations going into this.
Yeah, I've got to say personally, I'm generally not. I like bourbons, but I don't like corn forward mash bills generally. Now there have been exceptions to that. There have been a couple whiskeys we've had that were corn forward mash bills that worked really well for me. This one's kind of an interesting mash bill.
Right, because this is 86% corn and 14% malted barley.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be really, really interesting to me.
I'm curious to see how those two work in that mix.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really curious to see what the flavors that come out. I really expect some caramel notes and some very very sweet whiskey, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm expecting a very sweet whiskey. I think the corn's going to bring a lot of sweetness. I also agree with the malted nature is going to bring some of the caramel, that sort of thing. I guess what I'm really curious about is the finish, how much barrel spice, that sort of thing is going to be present there. But yeah, I'm really curious about this one.
Yeah, this one's been bottled in bond for 4 years. It's 50% ABV as a result. So let's get into it.
I agree.
All right. So
now, when we first got into Law's, it really wasn't available here. Here being Georgia, and that's changed in fairly recent times. My local liquor store, which is decent, not like what Mark has out his way, but even they now have 3 different types of Law's bottles on the shelf, whereas out this way I think you get pretty much all of them at this point.
Well,
right?
we get the Rise. There's two Rise that are available: the Centennial wheat, the bottle in bond 4 grain, and then the straight 4 grain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the staples.
Okay, so this one is
That is
It's like a
great.
very golden yellow color.
Yeah, very pale gold.
Very pale gold. Man, look at
The
I mean, that
oils.
is viscous.
Yeah.
That is just swirling around the glass. Just leaves just streaks and streaks of glass cling.
Yeah. No, I personally prefer oily whiskeys. I've found more often than not they have a pretty good finish on them, and I'm hoping that's the case here.
Oops, there's a
Somebody in there trying to steal your whiskey.
That was, yeah.
Ah, little
Spit it out, you
bastard.
bastard.
Well, let's see what we got here. Okay, so
okay.
that smells like a corn forward mash bill.
It really does. So if you're, it's almost a very bourbon kind of nose to it. So very, very corn forward.
Yeah.
It's got the, that sort of vanilla cream. Little spicy on the nose too.
A little bit.
But man, yeah, it's that vanilla cream. What I'm not getting in this is, unlike a bourbon, is I'm not getting like that cherry note in here.
No, I'm not either, and that's what I was kind of sitting here looking for.
You know what? What it reminds me of? Like apple skins.
That I could see. Yeah.
Yeah, like a tart apple
Yep.
skin.
There's a little-
a Granny Smith.
Yeah. A
And
little bit of like a bitterness.
Little bitterness. But man, it's got a nice little sweet, undertone to it.
Yeah, and you do get a little bit of vapor on the nose, enough to let you know that this is a whiskey, but not enough to be intrusive.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is 50% ABV.
Yeah.
So I mean, and it smells a little hot on the nose. So,
A little bit. Interesting.
all right, well, cheers.
Cheers. Oh wow.
That is spicy. That is peppery.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it
It's
leaves my
unique,
tongue
though.
tingling. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever tried anything. I don't think I've ever had anything quite like this.
No, there's something very unique about this compared to other corn forward mash bills. I mean, don't get me wrong. And this is one of those ones that's going to make you salivate.
Oh
It's,
yeah.
that's already happening. Yeah, I'm getting the barley on the back end now.
Right. It like kind of held for a minute, for like a second.
Yeah.
It just held, and then I didn't quite know what was going on, and then all of a sudden it was like spiciness and peppery, and then there was this nice sweetness to it that
Yeah.
sort of came in underneath it all.
For me, what I find especially interesting is you can taste the mash bill.
Yes.
For me, it's really distinct and well defined. When I first take a sip, it's a corn forward mash bill right off the bat. I get the corn, I get the sweetness of the corn, I get that kind of dusty corn nature. I get some of the barrel spice that I would expect, and I really appreciate in this case. And then that starts to fade away, and the malt comes in, and that's where I start getting that caramel, maybe a little bit of vanilla, and it just kind of washes over the back of the palate at the tail end. I love the way the spice kind of fades, where it's really present initially, but then it just kind of fades and then makes room for everything else.
And
Wow.
and you know what? And just on the second sip on this, what it reminds me of is if you ever been in a grain silo or near a grain silo, and you get that little dustiness, you get the especially if it's a corn silo, and there's a nice sweetness to it and everything, and dustiness, and that's all here. It's not like corn on the cob. It's not like anything like that, but it's like dried
No,
corn.
I agree, absolutely. No, it's not buttery. It's not like corn on the cob. None of that.
Yeah, there's a grainy nature to it.
Really
little
is.
granola in there, maybe.
Now I will say, third sip, little tannic, just slightly, and I got a little bit of the bitterness that would kind of go with the apple skin that we were talking about earlier. But again, I still get that well-defined line between the corn and the barley.
I'm with you on that, because it really is corn,
Yeah,
barley.
yeah. Wow, I wasn't quite sure what to expect with that. You know, normally when it's 80% plus corn, the remainder is going to be like 5% barley and the rest is rye, or the rest is rye and there's no barley. The way that they did this mash bill, I thought was going to be very interesting. I didn't expect it to present quite like this. That's a good idea, actually. I'm
gonna
curious
put a
about
little water.
that. Yeah.
Just a drop in there.
Now I'm still getting some of that
I'm gonna
flavor.
proof it down for maybe just a hair.
I expect it's going to kick up the spice a little.
Actually, I think it mellowed the nose. And now I'm getting a caramel on the nose now.
Yeah, for me, it kind of tamped down the corn a little bit.
It did. Tamped down the corn. It brought more of like almost like a more traditional barley or bourbon note to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that cooled it off a little bit.
Wow. Yeah, that did not go the direction I expected.
No, it cooled it off on the initial, but I'm getting more tannins on the back end.
I agree. Now that's happening on the finish instead of the front. It definitely thinned it out a little bit, which is to be expected. I think I prefer it neat personally.
Yeah,
I think it's
so.
a little bit more interesting that way.
Yeah, it's a very interesting whiskey.
Yeah, not what I thought was going to happen there.
Yeah. Wow. I'm gonna have to think about this one for a little bit, because if nothing else, it is really, really interesting. I don't know if it's my favorite of their line, but it's no slouch.
Yeah, I'm just thinking the same thing. The problem for me is, again, we've had the rest of their lineup and been very impressed with quite a few of them. I wouldn't put this at the top, but on the other hand, as far as corn-forward mash bills are concerned, this is one of the better ones I've had, actually.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like I said, normally I'm not a big favorite, but I like the additional complexity brought forward by the barley in this one. And the corn presents a little differently. I like the fact that it's that dusty corn, not the corn on the cob, not the sweet corn or anything like that.
Yeah, where you get that corn sweetness and
yeah. No, I like the way this one presents. I also really enjoyed the way the spice presented, where it was up front, not overwhelming, but again, a nice counterpoint to the sweetness that would come later. But that it just gently faded into the background to make room for everything else. That worked really well, actually.
Yeah, I agree with that too. It was like eating some spicy food, and and then it just gets you like all over.
Yeah.
And I really dig that about it. I really like this. It's not my favorite, but I really, really like it.
I'm with you on that. Yep. Score-wise, what do you think?
I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
That's exactly where I am. Which, that's funny. Yeah, same number. Which for me, again, corn-forward mash bill generally doesn't end up that high for me personally. Again, that's just a matter of taste. But in this case, again, the way the corn presents is very unique. I personally like that aspect of it. The barley really does add something cool to it.
It really does. So, man, I really enjoyed this one, and thank you guys for Laws. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, really appreciate that. Really cool of you guys to do that.
We love what you're doing. So, yeah, please keep it up. As you keep making them, we're going to continue to drink them.
That's going to happen. And again, glad that there's distribution in Georgia now. That makes life much easier, although a little bit more expensive for me.
Yeah, for sure. Now, they do have a really interesting one coming out.
Yeah.
And I am really, really excited about this, because I'm going to be first in line to get it. And this is a 4-grain that's finished in cognac casks.
Yeah. Which I'm curious about that.
Yeah, one of my favorite whiskeys ever
Yep.
was the Deanston 18. It was finished in a cognac cask.
And their 4-grain that we've had from Laws is probably one of our favorite Laws.
It is.
So,
and I can imagine the marriage of those two.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be really interesting. So yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that one as well. We'll certainly be keeping our eyes open, that's for sure.
Very good. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
All right, we'll catch you on the next one.
Take care.
All right, bye.